put those questions to the AG today. Senate Judiciary Committee member Chris Coons, Democrat from Delaware. Senator, thank you for joining us. I know it's been a long day.
It's been a long day indeed, Chris, but it was, I thought, a very revealing hearing in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. My concern all along about Attorney General Bill Barr has been that Donald Trump, our president, nominated him because he was looking for someone to be his loyal counsel, his advocate, rather than the people's attorney general. And I think in the questioning before our committee today, we saw that that's exactly what President Trump has gotten. Someone who has been shading things, characterizing things, shifting things in a way that favors the president's narrative and in a way that has made it harder for the American people to really get the benefit of Robert Mueller's hard work as special counsel.
All right, so for the sake of argument, let's say you're right, or it doesn't matter, but it's a matter of opinion. What difference does it make going forward?
Well, I asked a question today that I thought was directly related to our next election, to 2020. There was bipartisan agreement at the beginning of the hearing that given Volume 1 of the Mueller report, which lays out chapter and verse how aggressively Russian intelligence officials, Russian intelligence officers from the GRU broke into and hacked into the DNC's emails, Hillary Clinton's emails, shared those with WikiLeaks, tried to help Donald Trump, and then the Trump campaign failed when offered this help to notify the FBI. I asked Attorney General Barr, going forward in 2020, should a campaign offer dirt on their opponent by a hostile power accept it, or should they go to the FBI? And he hesitated. He hemmed and hawed. He said, that depends, I'm not sure. If it's a foreign intelligence officer, perhaps. And now, I think he was shading that
acceptable answer,
question.
Senator, I heard that, and I heard it with great interest. And it was I want your take, because my take was that he was trying to put the gotcha on you for not being precise enough in the question. Were we just talking about anybody from North Korea, or were we talking about someone that you know is connected to the intelligence of a foreign/inimical power? How did you take it?
I think he was trying to shape the question so that it did not implicate the actions of the Trump campaign team in the Trump Tower meeting with Russians who were proffering information, who they didn't know for sure were from the intelligence service. That's what I thought he was doing.
Now, I want to play some sound of one of the answers that Mr. Barr gave today that kind of sheds light on where we are in terms of how to assess neutrality and any sense of impartiality going forward.
I received a letter from Bob, the letter that's just been put into the record. And I called Bob and said, you know, what's the issue here? And I asked him if he was suggesting that the March 24th letter was inaccurate. And he said no, but that the press reporting had been inaccurate. He was very clear with me that he was not suggesting that we had misrepresented his report.
Now, obviously, Mr. Barr would be nuts to just make things up that Mr. Mueller said, knowing that while Senator Graham may block him from coming to your committee, he's almost certainly going to appear before somebody of Congress. So what he said there, two interesting things. One, it's about a phone call, not the letter. So we don't know. We only have the actual text in the letter. Mr. Mueller does not mention the media in the letter, but he does convey that because of what he calls Mr. Barr's summary, the public now has misimpressions and misinterpretations of what happened. Mr. Barr blamed the media for it. What's your take?
I think Robert Mueller's goal in that letter was to further press Bill Barr, the Attorney General, to release the summaries, the 10 and 12-page summaries of the 2 volumes of his 400-page report.
Clearly.
That's because if the summary of the second volume had been released to the public 25 days earlier than it ultimately was, it lays out a great deal of the troubling facts about obstruction of justice. It makes it clear that there were 10 different instances in which senior White House officials or the president himself directed folks to try and fire Mueller, directed folks to lie, directed folks to create false documents. That would have been clear so that the sort of triumphalist narrative that the president and his defenders took to the press with for 3 weeks, that he was completely exonerated, couldn't have been sustained. So I think it's possible that what Robert Mueller was saying was, well, you weren't misleading, you weren't inaccurate in how you characterized my report, but you weren't fully forthcoming. And you're leaving the public with this mistaken impression for more than 3 weeks, so that it sets in the public's mind the idea that this report is far more exculpatory than it actually is.
All right. Now, in terms of going forward, if Mr. Mueller comes in and speaks, let's say, before the House and says, yeah, look, here was what I meant on obstruction. It was a close call. I couldn't make the call anyway because of the guidance, and it wouldn't be fair to the president. So we didn't make a call because obviously, as I say in the report, Congress can do this. And the criminality is moot anyway because you're not going to indict this president. So, yeah, I wanted to leave it up to Congress. What would that mean that's any different than what you could do right now?
Well, I think it would be important for the public to hear that Robert Mueller didn't exonerate the president, that he conducted a wide-ranging and thorough investigation and uncovered ample evidence of obstruction of justice. But given the constraints that you just referenced, he left it to Congress to decide what further actions to take with regard to the president. Let me also remind you, Chris, there are at least 12 other ongoing investigations in other courts and other jurisdictions that were spun off of the Mueller special counsel investigation. One of my core questions today was whether we can continue to have confidence that Bill Barr will supervise those ongoing investigations in his role as Attorney General in a way that really is impartial.
And it was very clear from the questioning of yours and Senator Harris to Mr. Barr today. He was very clear, I am not recusing myself. I don't think I have to go to the ethics panel about it, and it's going to continue on. So there's a story to be told there as well. I think the biggest thing that you guys got today in terms of any kind of concession from Barr is that he said, I accept all the findings of Mr. Mueller in this report based on the underlying evidence, which he then admitted he hadn't seen all of it. But if he believes that everything in that report is fair and accurate, then this president's going to have a lot to answer for when people understand exactly what's in there. Senator, thank you. I'll talk to you going forward. All right, so Mr. Barr actually